Hello everyone, I'm back with a new video. I'm gonna be making a tier list of all the Star Realms cards in the core set. I haven't seen anyone else do this on YouTube yet, and I think this could provide, I don't know, this could be something new. If this gets enough traction, I'll do expansions. I'll move on to the Gambit set. I believe that one was the next. Then the year 1 promos, and then came bases, and then so on and so forth, following the order of release. Or at least the order that's listed on the Star Realms app, and the order they have listed from left to right, then top to bottom. So we're gonna start off with the base cards here, and the tiers here are a must grab, great to have, okay I guess, not the worst thing, and as a last resort. Uh, so it's like must grab. You would basically grab it immediately. Great to have is like you would understand. You'll understand when I get to this. So starting off with the scout immediately, not the worst thing to have, because you would not get rid of it that early. Because the Viper is something you would get rid of almost immediately as possible, because 1 damage in it of itself does not really do that much to you. So Viper is definitely a last resort type of card, and Scout is better than that. Before I rank the other cards, I might as well do the other non-standard card, and I'm gonna put that at okay, I guess. The reason I would put it at above the Scout and not the worst thing is because of its it scraps itself along with being worth 2 trade and 2 attack. So it's definitely better. Alright, now we're gonna go into order again. So I'm gonna have the ships first, followed by the bases, which is just the way that it's ordered. Alright, so first thing we have the Blob Fighter, which is 2 attack, and the Allied Forces draw a card. Now it's cheap, and definitely cheap. It's got 2 attack. It's very nice early to have. It doesn't, but when you want something like this early on, you're really looking for the trade, not really the attack. So I'm gonna put it at not the worst thing. This is all just off the cuff of my head on how I play the game. If you play the game differently and you use these cards differently, then your tier list will be different. This is my personal tier list. A Federation Shuttle, I'll definitely put that at okay, I guess. It has 2 trade along with 4 authority with an allied ability, but other than that, and it's a 1 cost too, but it's not really great. You wouldn't pick it up over something that could provide more benefit to you. The Imperial Fighter, discard a card, and it's got a lot of damage. I'll put that at the okay, I guess, because you can still keep it. It allows you to like get the opponent to discard cards, and it has 4 attack if you use it with an allied ability, which is really nice. Definitely there. The Trade Bot is... Trade Bot, I'm gonna put it great to have. I'm gonna put the Trade Bot great to have for a few reasons. Number one, you're going to be buying this in the early game. So, in terms of early game, it's definitely something that you want to grab because, first of all, it gives you trade, and second of all, it gives you very early scrapping ability. So, Trade Bot is definitely something to grab early on because it'll thin your deck much faster. And I think it's definitely something that you should be grabbing over everything. The Battle Pod, you can scrap a card in the trade row, but it's also 4 damage. Scrapping the trade row is an interesting ability that is really only there to mess with your opponent. If you know what your opponent is grabbing, you're just gonna get rid of something, or you can get rid of a high value card. Is it great to have? Maybe, but I'm putting it in okay, I guess, because it's well now starting to get into the range 2. It's the first 2 cost card. I'm putting it in okay, I guess, because it's not really like eh. It's interesting to have. It does give you a lot of damage, but it kind of loses some of its value maybe a little bit later on in the game. Corvette, easy, great to have. It basically pays for itself with the draw card ability. Very nice, very easy. Easy, great to have. And provides good amount of damage if you synergize. Cutter, another great to have. It provides trade and authority along with attack if you use it with an allied. Definitely great to have. The Missile Bot. In terms of Missile Bot, at this point, I might... It's tough between great to have and okay. I'm gonna put in okay, I guess. It's definitely not the worst thing. Definitely not the worst thing. And the way I see it, I'm definitely gonna have a lot of cards in the OK, I guess. The more extreme values are going to be the ones that are going to be tougher to get. The the trade pod is definitely is really good early on. I think it belongs in great to have because it's 3 trade along with 2 attack if you manage with it, and it only costs 2. Basically pays for itself. It's really nice. The this ship, the yacht, is very powerful if you can get a lot of bases up. If you don't get a lot of bases up, it's just basically a 2 trade 3 authority. Is it great to have? Yes. Is it good all the time? I'm gonna put it in great to have. It's definitely worthy of getting great to have. Now the Imperial Frigate, I'm gonna put that in okay, I guess, because while it does give a lot of damage, I don't think it will. I don't think it's the absolute must-have card because there are other cards that cost 3 that are probably better. Anyway, the Ram. The Ram is gonna go into the okay, I guess, because, well, maybe it should go into great to have. It's tough to say with the Ram. The trade pod will have to go into the okay, I guess, as well. So this is getting to trickier bit because now this is the cards that are starting to like really become more viable. The cards that almost everyone will be using. Stuff have. I'm gonna check the card gallery real quick, and I want to see how many of them are in each deck, just to know. Okay, so there's only 2 embassy yachts. There's only 2 embassy yachts, so great to have is fine. There are okay, so I'm putting the Imperial Frigate in okay, I guess, because there are 3 in the deck. So it's not as rare as the frigate yacht? The embassy yacht. It's not as rare as the embassy yacht, so it deserves an okay, I guess. The Ram, there are only 2. Ram gets bumped up to great to have. The supply bot, there are 3 of them in the deck, so the supply guy gets put into okay, I guess. The trade pod is definitely like a great to have card though because of its earliest scrapping abilities. Actually, thinking it now, actually, trade pod has to get put down. This gets put up because it's basically a better trade pod. It's it's basically a better trade bot. It's a supply bot, definitely better. It'll have to go up there. Put you at the end. All right, what's next? A survey ship, immediate, great to have. It's a 1, and it allows you to draw cards. It's very nice. But it doesn't have any. Actually, this might have to get put down into okay, I guess. I would always get these. There's also 3 in the deck, so it's gonna get bumped down into okay, I guess, because it doesn't have any allied abilities, so there's no way to there's no reason to keep the card in the deck for longer. You're basically gonna have to scrap it eventually. So okay, I guess. The Blob Destroyer. Let's see. There's only 2 of these in the deck. It's 6 attack when you play it, and you could destroy a target base. That's definitely a really good card, and it only costs 4. It's definitely something that would be great to have. I'd definitely put it up there. The frigate, the freighter actually. It's called the freighter. Freighter is the first must grab. The ability to get 4 trade and the chance to acquire the next ship to put it on the top of the deck is very powerful, and I think it deserves to be put into the must grab category. Even if you're not running a Trade Federation deck, you should even if you can't run a Trade Federation deck the game, then you should definitely grab it just for the 4 trade alone. 4 trade is really powerful. The patrol mech. Where the patrol mech? I'll put the patrol mech in great to have for its ability to choose whether you want attack or you want trade. That's a very powerful ability, along with the ability to scrap a card in your hand if you're able to activate the allied ability. Stealth Needle, That's an immediate must grab because there's only one in the deck. There's only one Stealth Needle in the deck. You have to grab it or else your opponent might grab it. The ability to copy any card in the game is just so strong that it definitely deserves to be put in. Alright, what's the next card? Next card is the Battle Mech. It's now a cost 5. It's a cost 5, but it only does 4 damage? And it does allow you to scrap a card in your hand or discard pile. But, okay, this card might actually have to be put into the not worst thing. Now, the draw card ability is really nice. That could bump it up to okay, I guess. But it's only 4 damage. It's 4 damage, and it's a cost 5 card, where you can already get full damage from the Battle Pod. You can get a good amount of damage from the Imperial Frigate. There's the Ram, which is cheaper. You have the Patrol Mech, which is even cheaper and allows you to choose. Battle Mech has to be brought down 1 level. Alright, next card is the Trade Escort. Trade Escort is a very good card. It's got 4 authority and 4 damage. So it's definitely above the Battle Mech. Is it worth putting into Great to Have? I think it's actually okay, I guess. It's okay. I don't think it deserves to be put into Great to Have because I think there are better cards that you could grab at a cheaper price. Like all of those cards. Definitely cheaper. Alright, let's look into the next one. The Battle Blob. Battle Blob. 6 trade, 8 damage, and you could draw a card, and scrap it for 4. That's really powerful. I'm gonna put it into Great to Have. But now I'm gonna have to start thinking that these are very expensive cards, so they're not all of them are going to be a must grab as soon as you see them. If I'm looking at a must grab card, it's got to be able to make an immediate impact and doesn't require you to do a lot. The Battle Blob allows you to draw a card, but only if you're playing blobs. So if you're not playing blobs, and you pick up the Battle Blob, then the draw card ability will only activate once in a while. So you're mostly banking on the 8 damage that it does, which is still very powerful. It does one-shot every outpost in the game, every base in the game for that matter as well, which is very powerful. But it's not really a must-grab card. The Battle Cruiser is 5 damage, but it does allow you to draw a card, and the ability activates the opponent's discard a card. Is this a must-grab card? I think it is. I think it is a must-grab card, because the draw card ability is really powerful, and it deserves to, and you don't require any, allied abilities in order to get that draw card ability. And the allied ability is really good because of Star Empire, and the Star Empire abilities really like to discard cards. So if you could get a bunch of them together, you could basically discard your opponent's powerful cards. Alright, looking at the Blob Carrier. Blob Carrier is definitely a must-grab. Because that allied ability is just so good, it deserves to get it just for a small chance that you can get that ability to activate. Acquiring any ship without paying its cost and putting it on the top of the deck is just so broken that you really need it. Alright, the Flagship. 5 damage, draw a card, and the ally ability of 5 authority. That could be a Great to Have, but I'm actually gonna bump it down. Now, why would I bump this down? Why would I bump it down? Because it costs 6. It costs 6 damage. So it's giving you 6 damage, and you're also drawing a card. It's giving you 5 damage. Okay, so it's giving you 5 damage and drawing a card. But you also gain 5 authority. Actually, looking at it now, I am making these like changes midway through. It's tough to say. But you know, to be fair, I think the Flagship has to go into Great to Have, mostly because that draw card ability is really powerful, and it does deserve to be up there. But it's not as good as the Battle Cruiser. Alright, the next card is the Missile Mech. So 6 damage, and you may destroy target base and draw a card. Missile Mech is really nice. It's definitely something. Would you grab it over the Flagship and the Battle Blob? Probably not. Would you grab those cards before the Missile deck? I would. But The missile mech is actually really powerful. I think it deserves to be in great to have. I think it deserves to be in great and have because the ability to destroy a target base just by playing the card itself is really powerful, and it'll allow you to basically blitz through the defense of an opponent. Now looking on to the next one, we've got the Dreadnought. 7 damage and draw a card. This isn't great to have. It is not in must grab because it's only 7 damage and draw a card. And it's a 7 okay. It's a 7 cost card. It deals 7 damage and you can draw a card. You can also scrap it to get 5. But you would only realistically scrap it if you're already winning. So the scrap ability is meaningless, only for those specific circumstances of when you're about to win. You just need that extra damage. The Mothership, on the other hand, gets an immediate must grab. The ability to do 6 damage and draw a card, and the extra ability of drawing another card exceeds the Dreadnought. Because drawing 2 cards in the same turn, really powerful. And the final ship is the Command Ship. Command Ship is definitely a must grab card. 4 authority, 5 damage. Draw 2 cards just by itself, and you can destroy a target base if you have an ally. That is really, really powerful. Definitely a must grab. If you see it on the board, you better take it. If you can get it, because just drawing 2 cards by itself is so strong. Now we move on to the bases. Our first base is, of course, probably the worst base in the game. I say that. For me, this is the worst base in the entire game. It's the battle station. All it is just 5 outpost defense, and the ability is to scrap it to get 5. I'm gonna be fair. It's going into the not worst thing. It's going into the not worst thing. It's definitely not as a last resort. It's definitely not as a last resort because of the outpost ability. As a last resort, though, is the Blob Wheel. 1 damage. That's it. You can scrap it for 3, but it's not an outpost. For me, this is a very useless card. It's only there to get the Blob allied abilities to activate. That's it. I think this is by far the worst card in the game besides the Viper. But that's me. If you think it's more powerful, you gotta make your own tier list. Alright, the next base is the Trading Post. Trading Post is going to be difficult with the next card. Trading Post against the Barter World. So Trading Post and Barter World are basically the same thing, except for the fact that the Barter World is going to give you 1 more authority or 1 more trade, and it can do 2 more damage if you scrap it. But the Barter World does not have the Outpost ability. They are the same damage though. For me, Outposts matter more than Outposts matter more to me than the abilities, unless the abilities provided by the base is more powerful than not having the outpost. So I'm gonna put Trading Post in okay, I guess. Barter World gets put into not the worst thing. It's definitely viable because of its 2 authority or 2 trade and scrapping it for 5 damage. Recycling Station? Okay. There's 2, okay. This could have been a must grab card, but there's 2 in the deck and it costs 4. It's gonna have to go into great to have. It's definitely not a must grab card because there are 2 in the deck, so you have the ability to getting 1 yourself and your opponent getting 1. But 4 outpost and the ability to discard 2 cards and then draw 2 more again, really good. It does lose some of its value once it gets into late game, and all your cards are good cards, so you would basically only be using it for 1 trade, so it definitely loses some value there. But the ability to null your cards in the mid game is so strong, it definitely deserves into great to have. Alright, the next one is the Space Station, which can get you 2 attack, along with 2 attack with an allied ability, and you can scrap it for 4 trade. So that'll post to 4. It costs 4, just like the just like the recycling station. Now, it is an outpost. The outposts, if it's an outpost, it's definitely something that will make it more viable to use. I think that it goes in okay, I guess. The the attack that it provides, along with giving you the chance to scrap it for a trade, is nice, and the 4 outposts is really the main thing I would use it for. That 4 outpost is always helpful. Outposts are always helpful. Next card is the Defense Center. Oh yeah, and there are 2 space stations, so it doesn't really deserve to be in great to have. Defense Center. There's only one Defense Center, and it's a very interesting card. There's no scrap abilities on it. You can just get a lot of. You can get You can get 2 attack immediately if you have a an allied trade federation, and you can choose between 3 authority or 2 attack. And it's got 5 outposts too. I think it deserves great to have, because it's definitely better than the space station, and it's definitely on par with the recycling station, because it has 1 more damage to soak up, and it can stay on the board without the need to scrap it for any reason. You'll never scrap it because you can't, and you'll have a good supply of attack if you need to. Mech World, that's an easy must grab. There's only 1 in the deck. Voice crack. There's only 1 in the deck, and it allows you to get your allied abilities activated all the time. That's an immediate must grab. Whenever you see Mech World, if you can get it, you would get. If I ever saw Mech World, I would take it immediately. Plus 6 damage outpost. That's one of the strongest outposts in the game. The strongest, I think. It's tied with the other one, but it's tied for the strongest outpost in the entire core set. It's just really, really good. The Hive. The Hive is an interesting card. I never play the Hive because I always feel like I'm getting other cards to have. It's tough for me to judge this card because you can get 3 damage every turn, and it's 5, and it has a 5 defense, and you can draw a card if you activate other blobs. Is it great to have? Not really. It's okay. It's an okay, I guess. It's definitely not the worst. It's definitely not the worst thing. But it's not really something to, I would not pick it up over any of these cards in the great to have. Alright, next space is the War World. War World is... So I put the space station here. Do I put the War World above the space station? No, I think War World deserves to be in the same tier as space station, because it has the same outpost, even though it does provide more damage. But since it provides more damage, it does cost a little bit more. So I think it's not put into great to have, but War World is definitely something to use. The only reason I would put the this card, which I forget the name of because I can't see the names, the Defense Center. The only reason I would put the Defense Center into great to have and not War World is the fact that the Defense Center allows you to choose between authority or damage. So options allow you to create your own strategy, while single-use cards, not single-use cards, but cards with only single abilities, kind of like only have their single abilities. Having 2 abilities to choose from really allows you to think which one you want to use, so it's definitely a better card. Alright, next one is the Junkyard. Scrap a card in your hand or discard pile, and 5 outposts. I'm putting this in not the worst thing. 5 outpost, really strong. Ability, by the time you would, 6 trade is kind of expensive, and it would take a while to... You could grab this early on and get all the scrapping you would need, or you can just pick up some of the scrapping on the machine cult cards and just do it that way. I would basically only buy this for the outpost ability. Not the outpost ability, just the outpost defense. That's basically it. This definitely not as a last resort, it's just not the worst thing. Alright, next one is the Port of Call. Port of Call is really good. Is it a must grab? There's only one in the deck. Is it a must grab though? No. Because all it does is only provide 3 trade. 3 trade is very nice. Having 3 trade every turn that is out there, really good. 6 outpost health, really good as well. Is it a must grab? No. If it provides an extra ability along with it, it'd definitely be a must grab. But since it's only 3 trade, by the time you would 3 trade becomes kind of meaningless once you reach like the end of the mid game into the late game. You're looking for damage, and this will not provide you with anything that could realistically help you there. It does have the scrap ability of draw a card, and you can destroy a target base, which is very useful, but I've never used that ability. I've never used the scrap ability on Port of Call. It's just not something for me. But it's definitely a great to have card. It's not okay. It's definitely great to have, because 6 outposts by itself is tied for the most, so it's already a great outpost base, and 3 trade is really good, but it's not a must-grab card. Royal Redoubt? Royal Redoubt actually gets demoted to okay, I guess. And by demoted, I mean like it's getting put in okay, I guess. 3 damage every turn is the same thing as a Port of Call, but it doesn't really have that, if you're going to get 3 damage, why not get even more damage out of it? Target opponent discards a card though is nice, but I wouldn't call it great to have. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. What's the next one is Central Office. Central Office, that's a must grab. 2 trade and you may put the next ship you acquire this turn on top of your deck is super strong, along with being able to draw a card as well if you activate the allied ability. Super strong. Even though it's not an outpost, definitely one of the best cards in the core set. A must grab. Most definitely. Alright, Machine Cult. Draw a card, then scrap a card from your hand. This is actually going to be demoted to not the worst thing. And here's why. It is 7 trade. So, realistically, you would only be getting 7 trade in the mid game. But if you're already in the mid game, you might already be using a couple other Machine Cult cards, and they'll be getting rid of your Vipers and Scouts and other cards that you don't want. So what would be the point in drawing a card, and then you have to scrap a card that's in your hand? It's kind of a useless ability, to me. But it's not a last resort card, because the 6 outpost damage saves it in the end. Alright, Blob World. 8 cost, it's 5 damage, and or you could draw a card for each card that played this turn. This is a good card. Is it a great card to have? No. It's not an outpost, and you need to be able to get a lot of blob cards to get it. So, getting the Blob World is realistically only something that you would want if you're playing a lot of blobs, because it allows you to draw a lot of cards, which is super powerful. But if you're not drawing blob cards, then there's no point to it. There's no point. And it's not an outpost too. The Brain World. So you can scrap up 2 cards from your hand and or discard pile, and then draw a card for each card scrapped this way. This is a okay card, I guess. But I think it falls into the same issue as the Junkyard, where you kind of need to you need to have a really good turn in order to just buy the Brain World if you want to get it in the early game or early mid game. And you could just accomplish the same thing as Brain World if you just buy a bunch of other Machine Cult cards that could allow you to scrap cards very easily. But the draw card ability is nice, and it does save itself from the last resort as the draw card ability and the 6 outpost. But I don't see it ever going into the okay, I guess, category. It just kind of sucks there. Noticing here that all the Machine Cult bases are getting put into the not worst thing. I think that's just me seeing myself as I'm just going to be buying a lot of these like low tier machine cold cards because they're already providing me all the scrapping that I need, so I can scrap as much as I want. I don't really need these extra cards in my all these extra bases that I need. The only thing that saves these bases is the fact that they're outposts and they're providing me good damage or damage absorption. And the final card is the Fleet HQ. Whenever you play a ship, you gain 1. This could be a must-grab card. And it very much is. Is it a must-grab card, though? This is a controversy. I'm putting it in great to have. Here's why. It's the most expensive card in the game, and it's not an outpost. So that already docks it down a little bit of points. Whenever you play a ship, you gain 1 attack. Really powerful. But the way I see it, there's only 1 in the deck. It would be really hard to get it. It's hard to get, and even if you do get it, your opponent might just focus the Fleet HQ as soon as possible in order to make sure you don't get that ability again. So the Fleet HQ won't be able to survive more than like maybe 2 to 3 rounds. I just can't see it as a must-grab card. Just something about it. I just never seem to get it or use it effectively. It's very powerful. Don't get me wrong. It's a very powerful card. It's definitely a great card to have, but it doesn't really have that must-grab of vibe to it. So that's the tier list, and I think some of it I'm happy with it, some of it I'm not happy with it. But when you have this much selection, it's tough to use the same reasoning on everything. And you're going to forget some things when you're doing this for a long time. So I'm just going to that's my tier, but I think we're gonna have to stick with this. So that's my tier list. Hope you all enjoyed this video. If you want to create your own tier list of the core set, I'll leave a link in the description. And if this video gets enough likes, then I'll be doing the next set. I'll be adding on to this tier list. I'll be adding on to this tier list with the Gambits expansion. I'm going to go through all the Gambits, see which ones are good, and do the same thing. And if that video gets a lot of likes, I'll then move on to the next expansion, and so on and so forth. So if you do want to see that the Gambits expansion being added onto here, and other expansions along with that, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.